I wanted to circle back for a second, mentioning like you're working a part-time job and your weekends are your primary working time. Um, and I've also noticed that you have like a pretty solid presence across like Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and you have a Patreon and you've been touring and a part-time job and you've been working on two other projects and stuff for Moris Blak still coming out consistently. So um how how do you
Uh,
stay this active online uh and make this
well,
much music?
to answer your first question, I am online at my job a little more often than I should be, but
Cheeky.
um, yeah, it's well, part of it is I'm driven by the community that
Mm,
I've been able to develop, especially like on platforms like Twitter, where it's a lot more interactive. Like I don't go there just to promote myself. I like go there to be like part of this extended community of like just like nerds and producers and like queer people and it's a just a wonderful wide variety of people that I love being around. I have a very loving partner who keeps me very sane. She's fantastic. That absolutely helps. And the fact that I just even when I okay, I love music. I really do. And I've gotten a lot better at not burning myself out on it. And that was definitely something that was happening a lot when Morris Blak was first like picking up speed. When I was first starting Morris Blak, I was also trying to quit drinking at the time. I was an extremely problematic drinker for a good period of time, and that definitely like made I would like work very hard on music and then I would burn out and like my mental health would start to like spiral and um I will say that like ever since like moving into a new place with like a person that I feel very safe with, like I start to feel it when it's coming on. Like I have a lot of anxiety. I do have some like issues with depression and stuff. And music is inherently a competitive field, and that can do a lot of harm to your self-worth, especially when you're putting a numeric value on it. And there are some things in music you kind of have to, but a lot of it you don't. And it's a lot of kind of understanding when you're becoming overwhelmed by that. And I've learned I work on music just about every single day. Like I try to anyway, but once again, the help of my partner, she has helped me like realize when I'm starting to get overwhelmed and like I'm like working on music and like I can't think of anything, but like I feel like I have to keep working through because like if I just like keep clicking buttons, eventually the magic's gonna happen. But what's really happening is that, your brain has a finite amount of energy, just like any other part of your body. And if it's out of gas, you're not going to get anything out of an empty tank. And if I'm feeling very overwhelmed by the industry and my self-worth and all that, I will learn to take a break and watch a horror movie or anything really, comedy. Lots of watch a lot of comedy when I'm decompressing because I like to laugh and I'm an amateur comedian on Twitter.
Nice. Yeah, I find the same when I'm feeling extremely stressed, especially the past few years. Like I don't haven't really been watching any like serious TV shows or thrillers or horror movies. It's like I need to like real life is scary enough. I'm going to watch
Horrifying.
something like I'm going to watch like a cartoon or something funny. I identify a lot with like what you're saying and these processes. And so, do you have any structures in place, like hard structures that you follow to kind of try to keep ahead of it and keep on top of it and still make sure that all the things you need to get done are getting done? Or do you do it more intuitively?
I think it's a little more intuitive. I'm and I will say like in the past in October was these past couple months were the first time in a very long time I haven't been able to make remix deadlines. And that's just because I had so much building up just like around all of that. And but generally speaking, I'm I'm good at prioritizing what needs to be done and sometimes, if I've been like working on like two or three songs that I need to get done, I'll like maybe take a break and maybe uh, like throw a song I like into an Ableton file and just kind of fuck around making it a remix. It'll never go anywhere, but just something to cleanse my palate. Like just like remember, mixing down a track is a living fucking hell towards like the end stages, and it really makes you question why you even fucking like music. Guitarists don't have to deal with this shit. Guitarists do whatever the fuck they want, and they party after their shows. Like, no, we go home and we tweak fucking knobs. So it's good to go back to the basics and remind myself why I do this insane thing basically for a living. Like like my day job is part-time now. Like I rely a lot more on my music than I have in the past few years, which is wild and terrifying and grateful, and still think I'm going to wake up.
Yeah. What, like, as you transition more away from like a traditional job and into the music dependent on creative income sphere, um what kind of revenue streams are you relying on? Which ones have you found that are serving you the best or bringing in the most, versus ones that you thought maybe were going to be really clutch but have fallen short for you?
Well, I will say the most consistent form of income is just mechanical royalties from Spotify and places like that. And it's not a lot of money that I'm getting because like I have like pretty decent streaming numbers for an artist of my genre, but it's not like I'm not insert pop artist. Like it's not something I can regularly rely on, but it is just an extra paycheck that I do get every single month consistently. And it has been steadily growing over time and keeps growing. And maybe one day I can pay all my rent with it. Playing shows, if done economically, have like I did pretty well at the end of my tour. So it's like playing live shows do tend to pay the best of anything that I do right now. And also my client work, for what I'm producing for other people. That also, the thing is, if you crack down like how much time I'm actually putting into these tracks I'm doing for clients and how much they're paying me, like it's low hourly wage, but it's also an extremely fulfilling job that I'm doing, and that after I finished, I worked on Danny Blue's album Molotov. I co-produced that album with a man named Walter Casimir, super talented. Kind of does more like almost like new wavy and rock kind of electronic type stuff. It's really fucking cool. And we took my like bass and club sound. We kind of like put the two together, and I produced three or four different tracks on that album. I can't remember. Also, I can't remember where this conversation started because I just totally trailed off thinking about how much I'm very proud of that album, Molotov. It's very good, and I would recommend people check it out. It's my baby.
Yeah, absolutely. Go check out Danny Blue's Molotov. But we were talking about various income streams
Oh yes,
that you have been using as fuel for your artistic, well, as for your life, actually, for eating
yeah.
and paying rent.
And there's also like Bandcamp, which Bandcamp Fridays can occasionally be very successful, but problem is like the time I make the most, like I don't get a regular income from Bandcamp, but if I do like a big merch drop, like that can be super successful. But I'm pretty anti drop shipping for merch. I'm
Mm.
very, and it's partly because I'm playing shows and I need to like have the physical merch with me. That like I need to put it in order for 50 to 100 shirts, which if you're a starving artist, that's a bunch of money. But you do make a shitload back once it actually happens. It was a lot to print a whole bunch of hoodies, and they're only like half sold. But like shit, just like sometimes I'll wake up with PayPal and even just like one of those, I'm like, oh okay, shit, this pays for all of said groceries for the week. Like that's great. Um, it's inconsistent. I wouldn't recommend ever aiming to rely on music for income. If you have any other skill, do that because that's probably good, but I love music too much, and I'm kind of good at it. And when all the systems and the grids break down and the world is in a fiery husk, I will be fucking useless. But man, I will have made some bangers before that final twilight.
Yeah, well, I think we'll all be in a pretty tough place unless we're out here actively practicing our survivalist skills. I also wanted to ask you about your Patreon. Have you been continuing to stay active on there? And what's your
Yes.
take on using that?
I like it. It's you know, and I'd never wanted to make one because I just felt like I don't know, almost it felt like too like self-important or so. I don't know how to describe it. Sometimes I have a hard time valuing myself as a person or as an artist. Like as much like positive feedback and reinforcement I get, it's sometimes hard not to think I'm just like making all this shit up. Um,
We're all making shit up.
yeah, exactly. But Patreon, the way like someone told me was basically like a lot of fans have expendable income and they would rather they just want to sign on to a Patreon and give an artist $5 a month just to ensure that they keep doing what they're doing. And that is that it's an investment for fans basically. Like that's kind of what it is. And you know, it's and it was nice that I did it and people signed on, people still sign on. I made mine. At this point, what it is I have kind of two different like specific levels. One of them that I upload like an exclusive track to my Patreon that only they can listen to and download there once a month, and then I also upload at a slightly higher tier like production stuff. A lot of the Serum presets I've made, samples that I put together, Ableton projects, like Ableton racks, that kind of thing. Tutorial videos. I am actually a little bit behind on my Patreon because of the month I just had, and you're reminding me I need to do that tomorrow. But yeah, I've been enjoying uploading like kind of production videos because I used to do a lot of Twitch streams that would just kind of look under the hood, and I enjoy doing them, but lately it's just become like a toll on my mental health to actually do it. So I've been avoiding it slightly, but I will be getting back into it. But I've been kind of like getting that juice out of like sharing my knowledge with people by putting these little videos together. Just like how do I put together my drums or how do I design this sound? But yeah, Patreon's been pretty good for that. Not a huge source of income, but sometimes I'm like, oh wow, I needed that extra $150 to get to the end of rent, and I can withdraw my Patreon funds right now.
Yeah, I completely get that being like, oh no, how am I going to not go into crippling debt? And it's like, oh, we got like
Yeah.
we got $50 lying around over here. Like, oh, here's $150 over here. We can put that together and make it
I
work.
also have an excessive weed diet, which my patrons very much help support, and I really appreciate them for that.
We love the transparency.
Thank you, my patrons.
So you mentioned earlier, speaking of weed and sobriety, that you had an unhealthy relationship with alcohol prior.
Oof.
This is something that I
And
personally
most
struggle with.
drugs.
Fair enough. Yeah. They tend to go hand in hand, don't they?
Alcohol was the worst, but I've dabbled in most of the bad drugs.
So like uh what drove you? Was there any specific thing or was it just recurring patterns that you saw in yourself where you're like, all right, this is fucked. I need to cut this out of my life or like it's going to go nowhere
Yeah,
fast.
it was. I mean, it started off as it started off as like I had social anxiety, and in my 20s, like my young 20s, I had like a big breakup, and I wanted to expand my social circle and meet new people, and so I was drinking in overdrive to like kind of get rid of that anxiety, and it was fine for a while, but then it like kind of get worse and worse, and then it started getting to things like I mean, I was doing things like drinking at work, like spending entire days where like I didn't get out of bed and like or just like kicking back drinks and shit. Like it was like I was a mess for like a while, and it was partly because like I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and having that drive to do music is one of the things that it was still a struggle for a while, but that helped kind of show me why I needed to clean my life up. And also, like, obviously I was treating people like shit. I was treating myself like shit. Like, people are worried about me, and um obviously it had to happen, and I knew it had to happen. But having music as because like if I tried to produce music and I would like kick back drinks, like I mean I would be drinking hard liquor, and I'd be good for like 30 minutes of like really free form expression, and then suddenly I'm getting tired and just like pressing a couple of keys over and over again. I'm like, I'm gonna go watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Like that's and so that very much helped motivate me to like I need to stop this. And alcoholism runs in my family, unfortunately. Like I just have a generally addictive personality. I've been your listeners can't see this, but I've been ripping my vape the entire time because nicotine addiction. But absolutely the best decision I have made with my life. I am much happier, much more resourceful. My career is finally going in the direction that it's going, and I like myself, which I wasn't able to say in my 20s. I actually like myself, and I think I have something to give.
Yeah, that's brilliant. How long has it been? How long have you been sober for?
So I think I think it's been about 3 years where I can say no. It's been about 2 years about that's been like squeaky clean, other than weed, because it has worked better for my anxiety than any pharmaceutical ever has, and it is an important part of my life, and it doesn't disrupt it, so I'm not going to give it up. But it I was trying to get sober for about 8 years before I finally got a year under my belt.
Fuck yeah, dude. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
That's
you. It
massive.
sucked. It still sucks. It sucks playing shows and like not being able to get something to drink, but you get used to it. I have like I have my ginger beer, my Diet Coke, and my Red Bull. Those are my go-tos for going to a bar. That most establishments will have that, but it gets anyone's trying to do it. It fucking sucks really hard at first, but it gets a lot easier, and have a good support network. And I recommend this lifestyle. This lifestyle really works for me. But if you can
Mm.
control your drinking, fuck you. I wish I could too.
So I was gonna ask that too. Like all of the shows and stuff you've been playing this year, like a lot of times, just kind of as the nature of the beast, like drinking and touring go hand in hand a lot of the time, you know? So for you, especially on this like extended tour, what was it like doing that whole experience sober? Did that push you? Was that hard to complete like that? Or was there any
Yeah,
conflicts with people being like, yo, why aren't you drinking? Like, this is what we're
no,
doing.
definitely not. Definitely not that. And also my tour, like my tour mates also like one person like would maybe have a beer every few shows, and the other person like was just like stone cold sober. Like, and since I was like smoking weed all the time, I felt like the fucking druggy degenerate of the tour, which was a weird experience. But that really helped kind of keep it there. And I've noticed like recently, especially with our generation, we're seeing like more and more like I feel like when my parents were growing up, like people were getting sober at like a much like later age. Like, and with our generation, maybe it's just we're more fucked up. Like I swear we all have problems with anxiety and depression or ADHD or something. We are just a fucked up generation, man. But so that made it pretty easy, and like people seem to be more accepting. It's like people understand the effect, especially like we're living through. Well, you're living in Japan, but like the opiate crisis is like such a huge thing here, and I had problems with opiates for a period of time in my 20s. Like it was a big thing. Like it's impossible to meet someone who has not in some way been affected by the opiate crisis. So it's a lot more understandable for people to be sober. So I hadn't really got pushback, and I feel like there's definitely gonna be a future where I go on tour with a band that's like way more into partying than me, and it's gonna be tough. But I also feel like how public I am about like my sobriety and my past issues with it gives a certain amount of accountability. When I was first getting sober, there was a lot of like sober musicians and like personalities that I kind of looked up to. And like a good example, Mark, Mark Maron, the podcaster.
I'm not familiar.
He's fucking amazing. I love him. Mark Maron is a comedian, and he's been sober for very very many years. And like I used to listen to a lot of the things he said about sobriety. And I know if anything happened and he broke his sobriety like in a public way, like I mean, not I wouldn't hold it against him or anything, but it would break my heart. Like it would definitely hurt me in a way that like I know that he's hurting. And if I have fans that are sober and are struggling with staying sober, like I don't want to be an exam. I don't want to be a statistic of a relapse. That helps me keep me sober. And also, my partner is sober, and we both have talked about this. That the fear of the other relapsing because we relapsed is a real fucking thing, and that creates some iron blocked accountability.
That's excellent too. Having somebody to like that's close to you like that to support you and also to do it with you. So you have each other to rely on.
It really helped me.
I can imagine. That's huge. Um, so